already loved by others.
Hi, this is Michelle Hudspeth with RED, Rare Essential Discoveries. Thank you for joining me today. I'm continuing my series in my journey to self-awareness and self-love. The last video I talked about how I had discovered the 4 basic human needs, which were certainty, variety, significance, and love and connection. And I had shared in that video that this was kind of the first time I had a place to really begin to explore who I was. Like, what did I like? What did I not like? What did I need? What did I not need? And trying to understand why I had made some of the decisions I had made in the past. So initially, this was good, and I left my session with my life coach and I began to explore and had realized that the main need for me that I felt wasn't met or wasn't ever met was that need for significance, that feeling like I mattered, the feeling that, if I wasn't here, that humanity would be affected. I just really didn't believe that. I had such low self-esteem at the time. And as I began to explore more about this, I became angry. I got really angry. And at first, the anger was toward my caregivers. I was very angry about my family situation, about experiences that had taken place in my life that I felt were beyond my control because I was a child. And I thought if those experiences hadn't happened, then I wouldn't feel the way I feel, or I wouldn't have made the mistakes I'd made, or I would have made better decisions. And so this anger led to blame. And I began to play the blame game. And I'll be honest, I got stuck in blame. I got stuck in blame for a long, long time. And now I know anger in and of itself is not a bad thing. Anger is actually a very useful emotion. It's supposed to help you realize when something's not gone right or when there's an unmet expectation. You had an expectation, it didn't get met. Anger's a result of that. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Or how some people use anger to give them power and passion to fight for something that's an injustice and make that right. So anger can be really good, but when anger leads to resentment and leads to blame, then it's not. And that's kind of where I was, and I got stuck there. And so my life coach and I were discussing that whole blame thing, and I was complaining to her, well, if this hadn't happened, then I would have thought differently about myself. I would have made a different decision, would have made different choices. It would have led here. I was stuck back there in the past. And one day she said to me, I understand that you feel justified in your anger and you feel that it's only normal to blame others. But she said, I want to talk to you about your personal power. And I was like, wow, personal power. I don't guess I really know what that is. So I learned that we blame others because we feel powerless or we felt powerless. And powerlessness is really the root of feeling like a victim. When you feel victimized or you feel like the victim, it's because you felt that you had no power. And so these things just happened to you and there was nothing you could do about it. And I think I talked about this in a previous video. I think it was the one, Life is What You Think It Is. And as my life coach began to teach me about my personal power, I realized, yeah, okay, those experiences had happened, like I shared in that other video, and I couldn't control that experience because I was a child or because someone else, some of these experiences happened to me after I was grown. And I couldn't control that experience or control that person, but it was the meaning that I attached to that experience that I did have control over. And that's kind of what my coach was getting at. She was trying to help me reframe these experiences and to use my power to attach meanings that served me, meanings that empowered me, meanings that created self-esteem and value and a feeling of being powerful. And I got it. I got what she was saying. And I realized that I am grown now. And that, like, who was the quote? Eleanor Roosevelt said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." And as long as I didn't continue to give consent, then I didn't have to feel insignificant. I could choose to feel significant, but how? And I thought, okay, I'm on to something. And I was, but then I shifted out of blame into shame. And I started to feel ashamed that I had wasted so much time blaming others, that I'd wasted so much time being angry and resentful. Because remember, when I started this journey, I was in my late 40s and had already raised a family and was feeling, wow, I just woke up now. And that shame was pretty intense. And it caused me then to turn that anger on myself. And I became very depressed. Because anger, when it's turned on yourself, that's what it does. It's like you're disappointed in yourself. And it's like you want to punish yourself because you didn't make a better decision, or you actually made decisions that led you to more pain and more dysfunction and more woundedness and powerlessness. So this was a tough place to be, because my life coach said in order to take your power back, number one, you've got to really believe that you now have the power to make yourself happy. You have the power, you have the resources, you have everything you need right now to be happy and create a life you love. But if you don't believe that, then you won't be able to create anything to experience that. And she was right. And so the first thing I had to do was let go of my shame and let go of the anger toward myself. And this was a process. And of course, I'm going to make it very short here because I don't want these videos to become too long. But basically, what I had to do was let go of all those expectations, let go of the anger toward myself, the anger toward others, let go of the blame, and choose to believe that none of those experiences, none of that abuse, none of that pain, none of that had any bearing on my identity, on who I was as a person. Because I came into this world loving myself and not being afraid. I was taught not to love myself. I was taught to be afraid by the experiences that I had, by the meanings that I attached. And just like I had taught myself that, I could teach myself to be powerful. And I did have to go to therapy in addition to my coaching. There was some major things I had to work through, but I'm happy to say that I was able to let go of that anger, first toward myself, and just accept, that's a very powerful word, accept that I was a child and I didn't know what I didn't know, and I did the very best with what I did know at the time. And it was enough. It was enough. And the same with my caregivers, the same with my family, the same with boyfriends and ex-husband, they did the best they could with what they knew at the time. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I know now that a lot of that abuse and pain was their own pain internally being projected toward me. And it really did have nothing to do with me. I was just an easy target. I was a safe place to express that to or towards. And in all of this, of course, you probably know what happened. I was able to forgive. And I want to talk about forgiveness for a moment, because forgiveness is an incredible gift. Forgiveness is really the way that you take your power back after you've given it away. And that power is simply that I can be peaceful, I can feel good, I can feel joy, I can feel loved all on my own. No matter what's going on out here, no matter who is around me, if I have my power back, I can feel the way I want to feel. I don't have to feel upset. I don't have to feel angry. I don't have to feel any negative feeling that I don't want to feel, because I'm free at that point if I'm really able to forgive. And so what I learned about forgiveness is that forgiveness is not saying to the other person, oh, it's okay what you did. No big deal. Yeah, it's all right. No, it's not that. Forgiveness is recognizing, yeah, what you did was very hurtful. I didn't deserve that. I didn't do anything to warrant that behavior from you. But I release it. I let go of all those negative feelings and all that pain that I felt because of what you did. And I take my power back, and I take responsibility now for my happiness. And I let you go. I don't hold you responsible for my happiness anymore. I don't hold you responsible for my pain anymore. It's almost like a growing up, a maturing. And I may not be articulating it well, but it truly freed me. It was probably the first real deep level of freedom that I felt in my journey of self-awareness. And it was exhilarating. And I had to go through, this took months of forgiveness. I wrote letters to the people that had hurt me. I did what the mirror work. I spoke to them in the mirror and said all the things that I wanted to say and could never say. But then when I could, I physically went to those persons and told them, I forgive you, I release you, I love you. I understand that you're not responsible for my happiness, I am. So by forgiving you and releasing, I now am free to pursue a life I love, to create a life I love, and to love myself. And it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. I mean, radically changed my life. And it was the key to everything else that happened after that. Now, in that forgiveness of forgiving other people, I also had to forgive myself. And that one was tough because my personality is such that, I will take the responsibility for things that aren't my fault just so things will be peaceful and pleasant. And so I had a lot of shame for things that had nothing to do with me. But the forgiveness of myself was the key to releasing that shame. And when I was able to release that shame, that was a whole nother level of freedom. And that shame was really what was the block from being able to feel significant, to feel valuable, to feel like I was enough. And I still have the tendency to take responsibility for things or to feel shame for others, but now I'm very aware of it, and I'll catch myself and I'll stop and I'll think, am I really responsible for that? Did I have anything to do with that? Especially when it's one of my children or my parents or someone really close to me. And now I know, I'm able to see it. I'm able to go, no, they made those choices. I didn't help them make that choice. So therefore, I can't be responsible for that consequence or that outcome. And so it's really, really taken my life to the next level of joy. And I will say in closing, because I know this has been a lot, that's when I first remember feeling the emotion of joy, was when I was able to release that shame. And I was like, wow, this is what I've been missing. I felt so good. And once I was able to feel that level of joy, well, it just empowered me. It empowered me to make more decisions that led to more joy. So it just kind of created this momentum in my life. So I'm going to stop there, but I wanted to leave you with something if you want to explore more. Maybe when you have some quiet time, just sit and be still, get in touch with your breath, just breathe for a few seconds, and then ask yourself, am I angry? Is there anything I'm angry about? Is there anywhere in me that I'm feeling angry? And if there is, then deal with it, face it. It's only going to help you. It's only going to make you feel better. Or maybe you don't feel any anger. You're not dealing with anger, but maybe you have a really hard time owning anything. You have a really hard time taking responsibility for anything that's going on in your life. You're playing the blame game, and maybe you're stuck in the blame game. I want to encourage you to have the courage to look at that, to face that. And maybe you're not in the blame game. Maybe you just feel like you're not worth anything. Maybe you just feel like everything's your fault, and that's shame. So if you're feeling that, find out, am I feeling that? And then get in touch with that and try to discover, why am I feeling that? So these would be some clues to help you discover maybe what's blocking you from fully knowing yourself and from being happy. Do you experience joy? That would probably be the best question. Am I experiencing joy on a regular basis? And if you're not, why do you think you might not be experiencing that joy? That'd be a great place to start. If you like these videos and they're helping you in any way, please click the subscribe button down below and like the video. I will have another one out soon to continue my journey of self-awareness. Until next time, bye.
Then I love her, 'cause I'm already loved by others.